can always be the small spoon, darling. That's fine.
Todo el mundo.
Another.
Hello, I'm Nipper Reed.
And I'm Phil Wolf.
So, settle down, have a nice cup of tea, and enjoy the Venomous Exchange Radio podcast.
Crumpets, Nipper. I want the crumpets.
Well, as you've been such an extraordinarily good boy.
We're in, we're live, we're on. Here we go.
Splendid.
How do I make this full screen for me? Okay, green button. Duh. All right. Venom Exchange Radio, episode 8. My name is Phil Wolf, and as always, I'm joined by the illustrious Mr. Nipper Reed.
Hello.
And this episode is a bit of a catch-up. Am I right?
We are right. We've actually seen each other in person, which is lovely.
In the flesh. Crazy.
In the flesh. It was kind of like a Tinder date where you think, oh my God, have they sent their best picture and are they actually going to be hideous? But no, Phil delivers the goods. He's exactly what you think he is in person.
Yes, and Nipper was a bit taller than I imagined, but it's okay. I don't mind being the small spoon.
You can always be the small spoon, darling. That's fine. But no, it was lovely. And we have got a lot to talk about in terms of we've just come back from Arizona.
Arizona.
What an absolute treat. First time I've properly herped the US and absolutely blew my mind. Just amazing. I cannot wait to get back there. But totally different herping to Europe. Fantastic species, iconic species, and absolutely thoroughly enjoyable experience.
Yeah, man, it truly was adventure of a lifetime. And I mean, to be honest, the highlight of the trip was getting to actually hang out and herp with you. You know, I mean, we talked almost every day, but we never met in person. You know, and that's such a great experience, such a great feeling, is to finally like get the I don't want to say the physical connection, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
The chaps that we were with are the best of the best, you know.
Yeah,
and that's
100%. It was a golden trip to have some of the absolutely outstanding field herpers, trip planners, such a wealth of experience, and also they are so funny. It was just an absolute blast of a trip.
A riot.
Excellent. Yeah,
definitely
really
a laugh riot.
Really spoiled.
And I think one thing that really made the trip, well, there's two things in my mind that really made the trip the way it was. And that was one, Dustin Gron being our like boots on the ground, like local dude. We can't speak highly enough about that guy. He's the shiz. He really is.
Mate, having a local guide is always a gift on a trip. But someone like Justin, and I don't want to keep, singing his praises because he'll get full of himself.
Of course.
He's still a redneck. But no, what a awesome field herper and what a splendid person to spend some time with. Absolute joy.
Yeah. So Dustin Gron, he's a Gecko Sphere on Instagram. Check him out if you haven't already. And then the other thing is, obviously, Rob Stone puts together these beautiful trips for us, and his attention to detail is impeccable. But I like how Rob he does go to the same place twice because he wants to really get a feel for the lay of the land and different seasons and what to expect. And I feel like them having, at least Rob and Dr. Drew having been there before us, really helped a lot, because they're like, oh, we were going to go here, but it's probably going to be too hot, or it's not going to look that good because of the time of year or whatever. And I think that plays a huge factor, that so many of us don't have the opportunity to herp the same place twice at a distance, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for me, it was a real pleasure to be on a trip that I hadn't organized. So I was a complete passenger on this trip. It was lovely. I was chauffeured around and get out the car, and then we're in the absolute perfect spot for whichever species. We found, all but one species we were looking for, which is logistically incredible. And some species that we didn't even think we'd find, we stumbled over.
Yeah.
And that is, that's primarily down to Rob sorting out the sites before we went and working out the logistics. Even and taking some chances, some educated chances, going out of our way, and they all paid off. And that is down to Rob's detailed research and Rob's experience and Rob's knowledge of the species that we were looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, can't fault him.
Yeah, it was just a great time, great animals, and we joke about having only one target species not found, but if you're gonna not find a species, that's the one that it's okay to not find.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean,
so
let's talk about the species that we saw, though.
Let's
Not
do
that we didn't. So for me, obviously, I keep rattlesnakes and I've kept rattlesnakes, but I've never seen one in the wild. So the big thing for me in America was to see a wild rattlesnake. And before I left the UK, I had no game plan. I knew that there was, potentially 8 or 9 rattlesnake species in the area that we were going to. But, on any trip, you cannot bank that you're going to see anything. So I thought, okay, well, statistically, we're most likely to see an atrox just because it's the most widely distributed and possibly an inverted commas commonest species to find out there. So I would have been absolutely stoked just seeing an atrox, just to see a wild rattlesnake. But to actually just be hours into the trip, and bear in mind, I was, I'd been up for 28 hours. I was super jet lagged. So I was sort of like coasting on fumes. And then to get out of the car at our first site and within 20 30 minutes for somebody to shout rattlesnake, and we all go running down the path, and there's Rob with an absolutely stunning Arizona black rattlesnake. It was just incredible. And that was my first wild rattlesnake. And to hear the noise in the wild, it is overwhelming.
It's
I know
unlike anything
it's
you've
old
ever
hat.
heard.
Yeah, it's old hat for you. Like, I get all that. You've seen it and done it before. For me, that is something to hear a rattlesnake in the wild. I've been waiting years, if not decades, to hear that in the wild. It is incredible, absolutely incredible. And what a specimen!
Flawless, a flawless textbook animal. The lavender with the yellow and
just and I've downloaded my photographs, and I will be boring the shit out of people on Instagram with my various. I just spent the last 2 days downloading photographs, so I will be posting some. But I don't even think the photographs, can do justice to the colors of that animal.
They can't, because we saw it in natural sunlight.
100%. Yeah.
To be honest, it wasn't golden hour. It was still a little earlier in the evening, but it had that golden hour glow to it that just you cannot get on film.
No, but it's one of my favorite rattlesnakes. I've seen so many pictures in books and on the internet, but as you say, they don't capture the actual lavender colors, the hues across the bottom of the snake. It was incredible.
I think it was also super interesting because, and I never thought about what you had just said about hearing the rattle in the wild for the first time. I never thought of it like that because I've only herped North America, right? And I remember the first time I ever heard a rattlesnake, and I had this amazing giddiness to me, like, oh my God, I know that sound. I've always wanted to hear this in the wild, but now it got me thinking about like how I'm gonna feel. Let me rephrase this. How am I gonna feel when I hear an Equus for the first time, or I hear a Deboya for the first time in the field? And it just like that makes me even more excited and even more thirst driven to find those other species off continent.
I can still, and it was some years ago, but I can still remember the first time I heard Equus rubbing its scales together in the desert at night. And it's just such an iconic noise, and so loud for such a small snake. Way, louder than a rattlesnake. It's really weird.
That's awesome.
And the boy are huffing and puffing themselves up again. Just such a great noise to hear in the
sooner,
wild.
man. Soon we're gonna get it soon.
Got to do that.
But I also think it, not to cut you off, but I think it was also interesting because when we first got to that first trail where we found the Cerberus, the scenery was so incredible that, and like it almost didn't even look like the quintessential quote unquote Arizona. You know what I mean? It was it was a little higher in elevation. It was very oak driven with some washed out creek beds in between the oak forest. But I'm looking at everyone on the trip and I'm recording people, you know, because I want to get some B-roll footage of just us experiencing everything, right? And I look at Eric and I look at Doc and I see them doing their thing. And then I look at Nipper, and Nipper is torn because he wants to get into full European herp mode of flipping every single rock he finds, but he'll flip a rock and then he'll look up and he'll just gaze at the mountainside and he'll see the clouds and the rays of light coming through the clouds. And he'll have this moment of pause and say, I'm really freaking here.
You're absolutely right.
Wait, I have to keep flipping rocks. I have to keep flipping rocks. And he'll go back to flipping. And I think that to me, like that first, what you saw, me seeing you seeing it for the first time, was special for me, if that makes any sense.
It was I completely get that. It was so overwhelming. I was so unfocused on this trip because it was just an overload. Literally every bird, every butterfly, every flower, every cactus, every insect, everything was brand new. Normally when I go on a trip, I have one target. I've seen everything else. You know, I have five species in Europe left to see in the wild in terms of reptile. I've seen most of the birds. I've seen a lot of the butterflies. I've seen a lot of the dragon. It's not such an overwhelming experience where literally everything is brand new.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to photograph a tree lizard, and then over there, you know, there's another lizard running around, and over there, there's a dragonfly I haven't seen, and over there's a cactus in flower that I haven't seen. It was just incredible. But just to hear the rattlesnake, and I wasn't even expecting on the first day, because we had quite a drive to do to the accommodation. I wasn't even expecting to get any herping in, really. And to nail that beautiful species so early on, it took all the pressure off the trip. If we'd seen nothing else for the rest of the trip, that would have been worth the trip.
Agreed. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And I remember before the trip, I really hadn't looked at the itinerary, and I know I've said this on other podcasts, and I'll say it again, as I asked Rob, hey man, if we're going to the like New Mexico border, why did we all fly into Phoenix? That's like a 4-hour drive. And his one word text reply was, Dustin has a Serb spot. And I was like, say no more. Sure as hell, he was right.
And
he was right.
You know, it completely paid off. And you know, a 4-hour drive to see something like that is more than worth it as far as I'm concerned. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we started the trip out with a bang with the Serb, and then next day, did we hit up the high altitude next day, or we were still in the New Mexico border area. I'm actually going to go pull up pictures so I can remember exactly.
Yeah, I think the next day we went to the Gila spot.
Yes, that's right, the Gila spot,
which was super hot, too hot to herp in the daytime, really.
And needless to say, we did not find a Gila monster.
No, the only thing we found were little Scoloporus lizards. Nothing else, did we?
No, and cows.
And cows in shit order. Yeah.
Yes.
And then we road cruised that night, and we found a DOR Mojave. Is that right, or was that the night before?
I think that's the night after.
Oh, is that the night after?
Yeah,
I get confused.
Okay. Yeah, we went to we saw Scoloporus, and we wound up going to this crazy watering hole that Dustin showed us, and it's like it's basically a playa in the middle of nowhere on the outskirts of a small town, and the water was only maybe 3 or 4 inches deep, but there were shorebirds and kangaroo rats, and it was an overabundance of life. And we found those frogs, right?
Yeah, we got Buffu debilis, which is the little American version of the green toad. Mm-hmm. And we got woodhouse toad, I want to say.
Yeah.
Or plains or woodhouse, I can't remember.
We got brown one.
2 little toads, which was great to see, unexpected in such a dry area.
Yeah. And after that, we wound up going to the Chiricahua Desert Museum, which is the home of Eco Universe. So anybody who has an Eco Universe produced or published book or any of the Eco Universe, hats or shirts that have the really cool reptiles and animals and stuff on them, there's actually the Chiricahua Desert Museum, which has historical artifacts both of pioneers and indigenous peoples of the Chiricahua Desert, but it also has a ton of herp history. So we went through the museum, and they have, I don't know if it's not every species of Arizona rattlesnake, is it?
I think they do have every species, but not all the species are on display.
Okay. So yeah, they have 2 rooms that are full in a zoo fashion of really, really, really nice rock ledge vivs with all the different rattlesnakes in it, and then some harmless stuff too. But the main room is all just herp history, just old, tips and tricks for curing snake bite, or tortoise shells of damn near every tortoise around the world, taxidermied and preserved in museum fashion, and then the artwork. It's the largest collection of Tel Hicks artwork in the world, and it's crazy that prints that we have in our snake room, or T-shirts with a Tel Hicks painting of a Gila monster on it, and you're seeing the real painting hanging on the wall. And I think that's just the coolest. It's the largest collection of Tel Hicks art in the world, and that was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
And the rattlesnakes that are on display were particularly nice examples of each species. They've been curated to be some of the, some really spectacular examples of each species.
Yeah, and the vivs were, you can tell the vivs were made to be correct for the environment of the animal, which I really like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily, in my opinion, it wasn't necessarily a viv that we might have at home to be as naturalistic as possible, because clearly it's in a zoo type fashion. You want that you want your guests to be able to see the animal.
Yeah.
But the rock work was still there. And talking to Dustin about it, he was saying that what these guys do is they go out into the desert with a big plaster Paris mold, and they will take a rock wall on the side of a ravine, and they'll plaster mold that rock wall, bring it back to their studio or to their house or garage or whatever, and then make actual, plaster and ceramic molds from the real stone, which I thought was incredible.
Yeah, that's ideal. And of course, we saw the desert iguana there. Iguana.
Yes.
Awesome.
So I think desert iguanas are super cool. I mean, I don't own them, but
they're cool.
I'd never seen one in the wild. I did not know that they're not found in the Chiricahua Desert, and that they're only found 200 miles west of where we were. So everyone's like, oh yeah, it's desert iguana. And I'm like getting pictures of it, and everyone's like, oh yeah, it's just a desert iguana, dude. And I'm like, this is a lifer for me. And then everyone's like, dude, it's their pet. They let it loose in the yard. I'm like, okay, thanks. Thanks a lot. Thanks for popping that bubble. Let me just check that one off my list now.
It was lovely to see your excitement, and then realize that it was actually a pet iguana.
Yeah. Still cool. I was like, man, this wild iguana is so friendly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So what was the next venomous snake that we found? I want to say possibly prairie rattlesnake.
Yeah, the next venomous was the prairie. I'm actually looking at pictures right now, and that was we were driving to a spot to go road cruising, and somebody, I can't remember who, mentioned snake, and they slam on the brakes, do a U-turn, but we do a U-turn in front of a U.S. Customs and Border Patrol officer who was speed trapping on the side of the highway. So the van comes skidding to a stop. We all jump out to surround this juvenile rattlesnake. And then the cop walks over and goes, so you guys like snakes, huh?
I think we scared the absolute toilet out of him, to be perfectly honest. I mean, if you can imagine a SUV pulling up and then like 6 blokes just jumping out of it.
Yeah.
And literally at like 1 or 2 in the morning on the most desolate desert road, it must have given him a little twitch in the bottom area, I would suggest.
I'm sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
finger was on the button.
I think he was quite relieved when all we did was bend down on the road and everybody's got loads of cameras out shooting this poor little snake.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh man, but the next day was actually probably one of my favorites. I've had a lot of different species of rattlesnake in captivity, some of which were mine, some of which were the facilities where I used to work. I've worked with Price Eye, I've worked with Willard Eye. all different clubs and leps and whatever else, right? But you hear the term montane rattlesnake, but you really don't grasp, at least for me, because I come from the flatlands of Florida where we're 28 feet above sea level. You really don't grasp the fact that you're legitimately in the mountains at elevation, right?
Yeah.
So we start, the Sky Islands are such a diverse ecosystem, whether it be, the flat desert with the saguaro cacti, or you're, going up into the foothills with the oak trees, or you're actually, sub alpine layer when it's all, all conifer trees. But we're driving up the side of this mountain. I'm like, we are really freaking high in the air. Like we're up there. I'm like, and watching the temperature drop in the morning. Like the sun's already up and the temperature is dropping because we're going so high. And we finally get to our first spot to go look for the price eye. And I pull out my Garmin and we were at 8,272 feet above sea level, which in my mind, I was like, there's no way there's snakes up here. We're 8,000 feet in the air. And we saw signs, we saw lizards. Obviously, we didn't find a price eye, but Rob was explaining that they only live between 6,500 and 9,000 feet of elevation. And that's crazy to me.
Proper montane species.
Yeah. And just, you wake up and it's 75, 80 degrees because the sun just came up in the hot desert. And then you drive up there and it's 60 degrees.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, are we really doing them justice, keeping them in captivity? Because how are we going to recreate, the massive temperature, unless you've got air conditioning in your snake room or something like that, and all you're keeping is price eye, it's going to be difficult because the daytime temperatures were 100, 110. I can't remember what the temperature was. Eric took a temperature reading off some of the rocks at midday.
Yeah, it was like 154 degrees on the rocks.
Yeah, on the rocks.
Meanwhile, scalopers are still running around on top of them.
Yeah, but then at night, that's got to go from 154 way down because it was chilly at night.
Yeah.
So, you're looking at, 30, 40 degree temperature drop daily.
Solid.
Plus an overwintering period where, they're above the snow line sort of thing.
Yeah.
How are we as keepers? We can't really recreate those temperatures. It's the same as the Vipera monticola, the beautiful little Moroccan Atlas mountain vipers.
Yeah.
We can't keep them because it's exactly the same habitat. It's 8,000 feet plus.
Yeah.
3 months of the year they're under snow.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah, but great to see the habitat. Gutted we didn't see the price eye in person, but absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, that just gives us a reason to go back,
Oh, 100% all day long. Yeah.
So where were we after that?
I just want to go back.
Yeah.
The prairie rattlesnake was one of the species I really wanted to see because it's very, very common in the hobby.
Okay.
I've seen loads of the hobby, but to see one of them wild was amazing. And again, whether it was the light at night or whatever, but the green on it was fantastic. It was.
Oh yeah.
And again, really hard to capture in a photograph. But yeah, I was really, really stoked to see that species. I didn't think we'd see that species where we were. So
because it's so variable too.
Yeah, it's got quite a narrow range where we were, and I think we were quite fortunate to see it. So I was super stoked about that.
Yeah, it's not quite a range extension; it's just a little cusp.
We're really on the edge of its range, so I wasn't thinking we'd see that at all. And for that just to pop up unexpectedly was great.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. So after that, we did a fair bit of herping and saw some more scallops and stuff, some interesting inverts, and then we wound up getting a flat tire.
Yeah,
which was. We got a flat tire coming off the mountain, which is good because we were on our way to the general store to have lunch. And sure as hell, we pull out this rod that had to have been, I don't know, 6 inches long, 5 inches long.
Ridiculous. The tire didn't blow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of set us back. But I just want to touch on the fact that even though it set us back, it was almost I don't want to say a blessing in disguise because that's going to glorify it, but it was nice for all of us to have a day to stop and reflect and
100%. Yeah.
get some well-needed sleep, some hydration, and to go
Yeah.
through some of our photos and just to kind
Yeah.
of recollect our thoughts, because
Yeah.
you're in such a go mode, and you're like the next one, the next one, the next thing, the next place, the next meal. And
Yeah.
it's nice to just sit back and go, crap, we're still on vacation, you know?
Yeah. No, and again, part of the joy of a trip isn't just the herping, it's the people you're away with. And it was a
Oh,
pleasure
absolutely.
for, as you say, for us to all finally have a decent shower, to be able to sit down, have a beer or a coffee or whatever, have some food and actually relax. Because we've been on the go, I think I'd had probably 5 hours sleep in 3 days, or it was just getting ridiculous, and we were all hanging. So to have an afternoon stroke evening where we physically couldn't go anywhere, yeah, it was still great. And we still herped the backyard of the property.
Yeah, man, crazy tree lizards,
Yeah, tree lizards and, coyote. It's just fabulous.
Yeah, baby quail.
Baby quail.
The cutest thing in the world is a baby quail.
Yeah.
I don't care what people say.
Yeah, ideal.
Yeah. So once we wound up getting back on it, we went back to that Gila monster spot, and I feel like that was the most I don't want to say productive, but that, for lack of a better synonym, that was the most productive night because of the amount of epicness in one evening.
That was just ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely. And for me, having not herped, although I've herped similar habitat, say in Israel, or similar habitat in Jordan or whatever, to see the desert go from absolutely bone dry, you're breathing in completely dry air, to just feel it change in a second. It was really, really strange. You could literally feel the change in the humidity, the change in the temperature just happened in a few seconds. And it was like completely different habitat after that. It was incredible,
Yeah, and just the smell of it. Because, I've smelled rain before, but this smelled like it. You could smell the dust in the air.
Yeah, it was
incredible.
Yeah, and the temperature drop in just because, it wasn't a heavy rainfall. It was a light rainfall by any standards. But just the difference that it made in terms of activity was incredible.
Yeah. And to be honest, if that was Florida, I wouldn't even call it rainfall.
No,
it was like a light mist, but it changed everything like that.
Yeah, I'm from the UK. That wasn't rain, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. It was not rain.
But that was enough to completely change the habitat and completely change the activity levels. Yeah. And it went from quite a slow night, enjoying the scenery, I was taking pictures of lizards, I was taking pictures of cacti, to suddenly completely overwhelming, just mad night.
And it's crazy because I have this affinity for spaghetti westerns and vintage Americana, and now I'm standing in the Wild West, and we all kind of broke off, and like two guys went this way, two guys went that way. I kind of walked off on my own, and I got the GPS, I see the road, I see the trail, I see them with their head torches in the background. It's like I'm not too worried about getting lost or anything, but I was like, let me just take a little walk on my own, and I'm just trying to soak everything in. And I'm almost glad that I didn't see anything where I was, because it would have been much more difficult for everyone to come to me. But right around the time that the ball of the sun finally went below the mountain line, you hear, hey, I got one over here, rattlesnake over here. And like, it was one after another, and they were all different species. That was incredible to me.
Yeah, that was, and when we was in the Desert Museum, one of the Tel Hicks posters was a beautiful drawing of a coral snake.
Yeah.
And, both, I think I was chatting to Eric, and I said, oh, that's just what a beautiful illustration. I said, there's practically no chance of finding one of those, because it's not like you can go to the habitat and wait for it to bask or anything like that. It's such a lottery win animal.
Yeah.
And then walking along, and just to hear Justin scream, coral snake.
Yeah.
And I ran around the corner, and he kind of grabbed it because it was going to escape, with bare hands, and I had gloves, so I managed to, pick the snake up.
Right.
And to hold a coral snake in its natural habitat, incredible. It wasn't even on my radar for the trip, because it's not something you can plan for.
Yeah. You don't think about it at all.
No. And it was fabulous. It did all the things that coral snakes do. It was wriggling like mad. It was making, fart sounds trying to get away. It was just fabulous.
Yeah.
To me, that was probably my second favorite animal of the trip.
Yeah. I honestly, the more I think about it, I was okay. Excuse me. We always say, us in our group, excuse me, we always say that it doesn't matter who finds it, because we're all in it together. We're all there together. We're all photographing it together. So, like, for
100%.
example, I could say in theory that this trip, I didn't quote unquote find, air quote with my fingers, I didn't find anything myself this trip, because we're all together. And let's be real. Sometimes you just got to be in front of the person, you know what I mean? Just to be the one to see it. But so I don't count those. Like, that doesn't bother me at all. We're all in this together, and I'm loving every minute of it. But it would have been really cool to have been standing next to Doc when he said coral snake, and like see it coming out from its rock. Like, that would have been cool. But the same thing is, I can physically say that I've seen a Sonoran coral snake in the wild.
Yeah,
we have. And that is so cool.
Yeah, 100%. That, I mean, completely unpredictable and completely priceless. And we could do another 10 trips and not see one.
Yeah. Exactly. And the colors is not what because I don't think I've ever seen one in person, to be honest. The colors were not what I was expecting. It was such a excuse me, it was such a rich cream color. And then the black is not black. It's like a royal, or like a navy blue.
That was the thing for me.
Yeah.
You see illustrations, but you don't get how blue it is. It really is like a midnight blue. It's just fantastic.
I feel like it's like the Queen's Navy's peacoat blue.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And that's just incredible animal. Incredible. And then we're walking along, and blacktail rattlesnake, blacktail, and you hear, what do you got over there? Molossus, because you're yelling, you have 200 yards away.
Yeah.
And then an Atrox to boot,
Yeah, it's just incredible. The blacktail was stunning. I think that was probably the largest rattlesnake we found, I would say. That or the Atrox, I'm not sure, but in terms of length, definitely
the blacktail was definitely longer.
The blacktail was the longest, and just so chilled out. Just fabulous species, absolutely fabulous. Was that Molossus or Ornatus?
No, Ornatus is east. It's
east.
Texas.
Okay, so that is Molossus, right? Okay, Molossus. Just absolutely fabulous to see. And also the scorpions at the same time.
Oh yeah, Vehovis and Centroides in the same area, which was awesome.
Same area. Yeah,
just absolutely awesome.
Great to see. I got some lovely photographs. It was just over. Literally, as soon as it rained, one thing after another was out.
Yeah.
And again, as Justin was releasing the coral snake, he came so close. I was literally two steps behind him, and just as I was about to shout snake, he put his foot down, easily in striking distance of this Atrox. I mean, but fortunately, it was completely chilled out and just relying on its camouflage. But again, what a beast of a snake! Beautiful sort of. I would call it, for want of a better word, I call it desert phase. It wasn't high patterned. It was very, very pale.
Yeah.
But just a beautiful, beautiful example. And again, to see that just curled up, literally on the trail, by the side of a log on the trail, just in its ambush mode, where it probably spends, 300 out of 365 days a year, just sat around that sort of spot. Just incredible.
Yeah. Absolutely awesome. And you can tell that it was definitely dusty from being in that area. That area was a very dusty area, but
Yeah.
the pattern was so faint.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like those animals don't even need to have a pattern to break up the camouflage, because there's so many things out there, whether it be thicket or tumbleweed or prickly pear or whatever, that they don't need the camouflage markings on them per se. They naturally blend in with shadows.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was almost concolor. It
Yeah.
was, you had to really look to see a pattern on it. It was
Yeah.
really, really cool example.
Yeah. So we're all excited. We're all, besides ourselves, and this is what a great night, and the rain's coming in, and let's check the radar and see where we're going tomorrow, and see if the rain is hitting tonight where we're going tomorrow, and we're all excited. And on the drive home, we get yet another species.
Yes. And again, another species which I thought we were quite out of range, or on the edge of its range.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting to see it at all.
Yeah. And that would be the Mojave rattlesnake.
Yes.
So, Scutatus, which I never got a chance to tell you. So when we first saw him on the road in the car, I snapped some quick cell phone pictures. And then when we brought him back to all right, let me rephrase that. We saw it on the road, literally 100 yards from our front door of our Airbnb.
Yeah.
So we wound up throwing him in a bucket and bringing him back.
I would say road is a very strong word.
Yeah, yes, very wide trail.
Yeah, it is a trail. You wouldn't do it in a car. You'd need a 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, exactly. So we throw the rattlesnake in the bucket real quick and bring him over to the house, because it's literally like 100 yards away from the front door. And the photos, when I scroll back through, the photos of the snake on the road are complete, to me at least, in my cell phone photos, are completely different than the snake at the house. And
100%.
It just goes to show you how variable they can be in a matter of minutes, if not a matter of seconds.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And that was awesome. Absolutely awesome. And then after we're shooting the rattlesnake, or as we're shooting the rattlesnake, Nipper and I grab the blacklight flashlights because we're going to try and find some arthropods, and he finds a Culeonyx.
Oh, mate, that was the best. Because something I keep at home. Again, not on my radar. I thought we might see Culeonyx while we was at the healer site or something like that.
Yeah,
but I don't associate them with just being in the backyard of a property. All right, backyard, it was just wild, but I still didn't associate it with where we were staying. And to see a little movement and then think, shit, that's a Culeonyx, and catching it is just perfect, because I keep that species at home, and to see it just running around in the wild, just amazing.
And it was crazy because you see how soft they are and how fragile they appear.
Yeah.
And that one had a perfect non-regenerated tail.
100%.
And that was so cool to me. It was like, you expect it to be all scarred up and battle damaged from being wild. No, it was a flawless juvenile, probably a year old, maybe.
Yeah.
And just like, I still can't get over it, man.
It's just mad. Yeah, it's
awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
And when you think it was 110 degrees in the daytime, it was probably 80 degrees at night. There was absolutely no surface water anywhere. There wasn't there was a lot of large spiders around, but apart from that, there wasn't a great deal of insect life out at night, and it looked healthy as anything.
Yeah, it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I will say this, is that one night, even though it didn't rain at our house per se, but
no,
the wind carrying the moisture in the air, sweeping across the whole county, brought everything out.
Yeah.
That was the night that we actually saw some Brachypelma species.
Yeah.
That was the night that we saw a ton of more Hogna species. There was Hogna everywhere. And it's like, you're looking for geckos and trying to get gecko eye shine, and it's just Hogna. Oh, look at that big bright one. Oh no, that's not a gecko. That's just a giant wolf spider.
Yeah.
So it's super impressive.
And I know you were struggling with the dryness of the air while we were there, but as soon as you're so right, as soon as that wind started up, carrying that moisture, it was completely different feel for everything. It was it was good.
Yeah, and it did make me feel good because I to know that it wasn't just me having the sinus stuff,
Mm.
because Dustin, his allergens were going crazy too, and he lives there. So like, I thought
Yeah.
maybe it was me being from a 100% humidity climate, for the past however many years I've freaking lived here, and then going to the absolute dryness. And apparently, it's not. That's just desert.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes and goes. So didn't make me feel too much like a foreigner. So you want to take it away from the club spot?
What did we do? The first cloud spot.
That was that the place with the scary house the first time we went.
Okay, so we did that the next day, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the morning.
Mhm.
Early doors, didn't we? Yeah, grand.
Yeah. So we had a long drive from where we were staying to the next Montaigne spot.
That's
And
it. Yeah.
we had two cars at that point because Dustin drove his truck. So Dustin and I went in his truck, and everyone else went in Dr. Drew Lander's SUV. And what I thought was interesting was we had to drive through Bisbee. And I love spaghetti westerns. I love old cowboy stuff. And like, I've heard of Bisbee a million times. And it was amazing because it's like this cute little hippie town. But when you get through it, you get to this abandoned copper mine.
Yeah.
And like, you don't like, I've heard of the copper mine before, but I didn't expect it to be like on the highway. And you see this giant strip mined hole in the earth that's 100 years old or however old it is. And that was super incredible, very impressive to see, and it's like you feel bad because of what we destroyed our planet, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's incredibly impressive to think that 100 years ago we were capable of doing such things,
Yeah.
And then we get to this one club spot that was like, we joked about it. It's not a road, it's a wide trail. This was rough driving.
Yeah.
Very, very bumpy, very rough, improvised road going up this mountain. And it paid off, man. Dustin had the club spot. So you guys beat us there, didn't you?
Yeah, we only by about 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
We originally parked further down than you because we didn't think the SUV would handle going any further. I mean,
yeah, that washed out creek was just giant stones.
Yeah, Dustin's truck is a little bit more
Utilitarian.
Off-road prepared than Justin's SUV, which is a sort of family SUV.
Yeah.
But we literally saw a cloud within about 2 minutes of being out of the car, which was fantastic. Again, such an iconic snake, something that I've been waiting so long to see in the wild. Obviously, I've seen loads in captivity because it's a very popular snake in Europe to keep, but to see one just going about its business in the wild was just insane. Justin flipped it under a large piece of tin, and just certainly for me, one of the highlights of the trip, just to see a Cloudberry in all its glory.
Yeah,
just superb. Yeah.
What I thought was interesting is we took a lot of pictures, and it was very cooperative for the most part. It kind of sat there and let us do our thing. But I was thinking about this after the fact, after we all took our photos and everything, is that I can't remember, maybe just because I put it out of my mind because it's not that big a deal, but this particular snake really got me thinking about how many times I've seen a snake in shed or in slough in the wild.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time I've seen a snake, it's either maybe going into shed, it has a slight milkiness to it, or it's gorgeous, it had just shed at some point. But I feel like so many snakes in the field, they're not out traversing anything when they're in blue because they're vulnerable,
100%. Yeah.
And this snake was deep in blue, and maybe we flipped it from where it was laying low, or maybe it had just gone there to get warm and we got lucky. But I thought that was really, really cool to see an animal in shed in the field.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, it was super experience. I mean, we were all absolutely shattered by that point, and I think that really perks everybody up.
Yeah, definitely a morale boost, 100%.
And we got also a very cool Slevin's bunchgrass lizard. Did we get that there?
Yes, the Slevins.
Yeah,
And then there's also a baby alligator lizard too.
That was cool to see. Yeah, I got some nice photos of the alligator lizard as well.
Yeah,
That was grand.
And the whole time, Dustin's telling us about how big these alligator lizards get and how adorable they are when they're bigger, and you can actually hold them and play with them. And we did not see an adult one, but to me, honestly, like, I know it sounds crazy, but that would be another reason for me to go back, was to see an adult alligator lizard.
I don't need reasons to go back. I'm just going back. Yeah.
So, and then we did some driving, did some cruising, and it got later in the evening, and it was still I don't want to say drizzly. It was misty, right?
Yeah.
And there's this one gorge that a side road goes through, and you could tell. I mean, I don't even want to call it a gorge. It's basically like a micro canyon where you can see where a small creek or small thin river has carved out this micro canyon over millennia, and Dustin's like, oh, hey, pull over the side of the road and we'll shine this rock ledge, right?
Yeah.
And the canyon tree frog.
Oh, mate, yeah.
Dude, super cool, man. Super cool.
How is an amphibian living in the middle of Arizona, bordered by desert in ridiculously high temperatures, no standing water? And then there he is, just sat on the side of a cliff face. Just incredible.
Yeah,
just incredible.
Dustin was telling us that they're a great tree frog for someone who keeps arid species like myself, who wants to have an amphibian, because they literally only get a misting of water on occasion. Weeks, if not months, without any kind of moisture, and they don't mind 110, 120 degrees, which is crazy. I mean, obviously, you probably wouldn't want to do that in captivity, but just seeing this adorable little tree frog that, had I not been told, hey, look, a tree frog, I would have never seen it.
No, it was so cryptic. It was fantastic.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, I'm like, hey, can I play with him? He's like, yeah, man, it's a tree frog, pick him up. He's not going to go anywhere. And like, as I'm playing with this tree frog, which is stupid cute, he's telling me, he's like, oh, by the way, their toxin is super bad for your eyes, so don't touch your eyes. And now I'm like, oh, did I touch my eye? What's the word I'm looking for? The hypochondria starts sinking in.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, oh, am I gonna go blind from this freaking frog?
Yeah.
So
no, that was amazing.
Really, he actually, that kid did that twice to me on that trip. I got my leg cut by a piece of yucca. And he's like, oh, by the way, that yucca is toxic. So if you start getting an itchy leg, that's what it is. And I'm like, does my leg actually itch? Is it in my mind? What have I done? So he was good at that. He was good at sinking in my hypochondria.
He's a bad man.
Yeah. Shortly after that was a snake that we really didn't go too far in depth because it was so late and we just kind of got it off the road. But a Splendida Desert King.
That was great to see. Just beautiful
road and
beautiful animal.
I've never been a big Desert King, fan. Like, I mean, I have Mexican blacks that were given to me as a gift, but like, I never really appreciated Splendida just because they've always kind of been like the other king snake to me. But dude, seeing that animal in the wild, that was incredible,
Oh yeah, the colors were fantastic. Absolutely.
And I mean,
fantastic.
and seeing it in its natural habitat on pavement.
Yeah.
But that was cool, man. That was very, very cool seeing that. And that was only one of two colubrids we've seen the entire trip, right?
Yeah. I'd have expected to see a lot more, but no, it was rattlesnake centric this trip.
It was.
Which I'm not moaning about, obviously.
Yeah, right. Venom for days. So, and trying to see what was after that. I got some pictures mixed up because people were sending to me throughout the trip. Well, so the next day was the crown jewels.
Oh mate, the species that we found, I have waited 2 decades to see. It's something that has been an iconic animal for me for so long, since I've been really keeping Venomous and into Venomous. It's something that I've always aspired to keep. I cannot afford the prices at the minute because they are insane. But I never thought in a million years I would see one in the wild. And we were blessed with some rain again. It's quite heavy rain this time, just prior to us getting there, and it's quite a high altitude site again, but we wasn't long out the car. We'd all split up, and then Justin calls rattlesnake, and we came back, and there was the ridge-nosed rattlesnake just sat in situ. What a stunning species! Absolutely, and it's breathtaking to see. By far my absolute favorite thing of the trip. Something, I knew we were in the habitat for it. I knew Rob and that had seen them before, but I just didn't think we would actually get a ridge-nosed rattlesnake. And it did not disappoint. It was
not at
just amazing.
Yeah. And that was at 5,500 foot of elevation.
Yeah.
So, and it's crazy that like the leaf litter. So when we'd gone to that spot a day prior, and it was just way too hot. And Rob actually found not where we found the snake, but on maybe 200 yards in the opposite direction, he found a shed. And clearly that's a great indication that the snakes are there. I mean, you could tell it was 100% a ridge-nosed shed. It had the lines in the face, it had the pointed snout, the saddling was correct. So that was a great morale booster in itself, but you don't notice the leaf litter per se from all those oak trees until after the rain. And I felt like they colored up, and you could really see the different hues of browns and greens and grays, and then all the lichen on the rocks. The rock lichen, they took that moisture and they just popped out with the neon colors, and that's something that I never really think about is the amount of lichen that add to the scenery to make it the kaleidoscope of earth tones that it really is.
Yeah.
And the fact that thing was just sitting there, just chilling, just take my picture, go ahead.
Yeah. It was just an unbelievable time spent with that. It was what a memory. It was incredible.
And by far, even though obviously it's not as it's a magical thing for me, but it hits home for you so much more.
Yeah.
But that's the most photos of any animal on my phone.
100%.
Because I can't pull myself to delete any. I'm like, this one's blurry, but I have to keep it.
Yeah, I dread to think. I think I filled up a 650 cards, memory card, 650 image memory card. I was shooting RAW, and by far the majority of pictures on my camera were the ridge-nosed rattlesnake.
Yeah, that was the same. That was the same morning where you're like, I have to delete some. I gotta make space. Yeah.
Rubbish.
Oh, man,
that was incredible.
So we took the time to really enjoy that Willie. And then we realized that we had been photographing the snake for probably 45 minutes to an hour. Easy.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And I think everyone was like, you know what? We've stressed him out enough. Let's go back to the clobber spot.
Yeah.
And that one paid off even more.
Again, I think, earlier in the evening, we had some rain prior to us getting there. And it just, as you said, it changed the habitat completely. Yeah. We had our second colubrid of the trip, which was phenomenal, which Rob found in that dry wash, which was the Pituophis. So docile. The coloration, I mean, to me, it was almost Depi-like, and I know we were quite close to the Mexican border.
Yeah.
But the colors, fabulous compared to other Pituophis that I've seen in captivity. That was great, and no problem with handling in it at all. It was very, very docile. That was great to see.
Yeah, it even sat well like on the log when Rob was photographing it. It just kind of sat there and let us do it.
Yeah. And then obviously we had the other clouds, which were great examples because they were so different from one another.
Yeah,
it was
everyone.
I mean, one of them was almost more leopardus-like than cloud-like. Very mottled rather than banded. But just a joy to compare the different clouds. It was to see one cloud on a trip, was outstanding. But just to see two or three in an evening, just fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
And Rob found a baby in the wash on the move.
Yeah,
and I think that just tells you what you're in the right place, right time, because it's not like we flipped him. That snake was coming out to get a drink or to hunt or what have you. And just the fact that you've got 3 or 4 snakes within 50, 60 yards of each other, and they're all different sizes, different ages, different colors. That tells me it's a healthy population, and it just goes to to prove the diversity of that species. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So
And
cool.
what was that baby feeding on? Because it was
Yeah.
absolutely it was minute.
Yeah.
You know, what was it after insects? Was it that we didn't see any geckos or Scloporus that were that small? It's it's incredible. Tiny
Yeah.
little thing.
I gave Rob a quarter coin out of my pocket so that he could put it in the photo, just to like get like a fun scale photo. And we wound up not using it because the snake wasn't as cooperative as planned. But you could have probably, if it was harmless, you could have balled it up and put it on top of like a silver dollar.
Yeah,
You could
100%.
have.
It was
That's how
minute.
tiny it was. Yeah.
It actually went underneath a lens cap. It fitted a 52 mil lens cap. It went underneath.
Oh, awesome. Super cool.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. And then when we were leaving there at night, we got another amphibian, which I never even knew existed. And to me, that's one of the best parts about herping with like-minded individuals, is that I'm not a big amphibian guy, but I did not know that a red spotted toad existed.
Yeah, before punctatus.
That thing was so cool, man.
That was like great. Yeah,
it's such a unique toad. I mean, I mean, obviously it's a toad. It looks like every other toad. It's got bumps and whatever, but it doesn't. It's this rich blue-gray color with rust spots and those crazy eyes. And
and again, if it hadn't been so damp that night, there's no way we'd have seen them.
Yeah,
but there was 2 or 3 just by the side of the road.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm just looking at pictures on my phone right now. It's like the eye has like gold dust, gold flecks in it.
Yeah, stunning.
Incredible.
Absolutely stunning.
Incredible. And we can talk about them because they're technically poisonous. So part of the podcast.
Part of the podcast.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, it was a really great, really well-rounded trip, man.
It was 7 species of rattlesnake in 7 days. You cannot argue. You cannot argue with that. And a coral snake.
And a coral snake. Yeah.
And a coral snake in one trip. That's just ridiculous. So I did well. So my Eric is 2 rattlesnakes ahead of me.
Nice.
Because both Eric and I have a quest now to see all the American rattlesnakes in situ.
You got to do it.
Oh, I'm all over that now. He has timber, and he also has Sidewinder. So, which he got on the last. Timbers are local to him. The Sidewinder he got on the West Texas trip.
Well, he's also got Ornata on you.
Oh damn it! He has. They got that on that trip as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, he got Ornata with me in West Texas with Smitty.
Bummer.
Yep.
So he's 3 up on me.
Yep.
Rascal.
Yep.
What a rascal.
So, and then I'm up on you with Ornata and Adamantius and Barbari. So we all gotta get our game on, man.
Oh mate. Rob is talking about a Utah trip in May, and there'll be quite a few species on there. So that's what I'm looking forward to at the minute.
That'll be very cool, man. Great Basin, Lutosis is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, midget faded.
Yeah,
Hopi rattlesnake.
Yeah,
tiger rattlesnake. Need to see a tiger rattlesnake.
Oh yeah,
that'll be very cool. I need to see Eastern Diamondback as well. I've not even seen that.
I haven't seen one in almost 3 years, so we're due. We're definitely due.
Yeah. Talking of trips, have you got any more trips planned, or you field herping locally?
No, yeah, I've been field herping locally. Actually, I got another dusky last week with Anna Maria, and I'm very, very choosy because I've caught so many duskies now that I'm really, really choosy as to which ones I actually keep. And I found one that I believe it to be a female. The tail looks just right, and it's the right size. Because I don't want to take something too small because it's a pain in the neck, as you very well know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take anything too big because I don't want to damage the ecosystem. I want adults to stay in situ and keep making more babies.
Yeah.
So I got a perfect one I got a perfect Palm Beach locality one to match my Palm Beach that I have. And I'm like 99% sure I'm going to wait for a shed and then check that shed and make sure I got a pair. But other than that, I don't have anything planned. I've got taken time off for Daytona, and then Anna Marie and I are going to the Carolinas in autumn. So
cool.
And I kind of did that on purpose because I wanted to go away and not, I don't want to say not be able to herp, but I didn't want to be tempted to be like, hey babe, let's go to this creek bed over here. You know what I mean? I wanted to kind of just do like an actual relaxing vacation. So we're going to do that in autumn.
Yeah.
And then I got to figure out my passport, and sky's the limit with the old nip nip.
Yes, come on.
Yeah.
Well, I am off with Alison to Milos in September, which I'm looking forward to.
Excellent.
Main target for that trip will be the blunt nose viper from Milos.
Awesome.
So it used to be part of the blunt nose viper, the Lebetina complex, which is like Cyprus, the Middle East, that sort of area.
Is this still Macrovipera?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Which I'd already seen. I've seen it in Cyprus and photographed it there. But they've now recently split it, and it's now a species in its own right.
Okay.
And slightly smaller than the ones you find on Cyprus, the dominant species. But the ones on Milos have got a lovely coral pink color to them.
Oh, awesome.
And they're real they feed heavily on birds. They're real sort of migratory bird feeders. So really looking forward. I've got some spots for those.
Are you guys going during a bird migration, or just
we're going at the end of September, which is a busy period for them. So it's a good time of year to go. There's also a wall lizard there that I haven't seen. So if I get the viper and the wall lizard, that will take me down to 3 species left to see.
Nice.
In Europe, we should be good. There's also a grass snake, a natrix, which isn't a full species yet. It's a subspecies, but I'd like to see it because it's so different, and it will probably be elevated to a full species eventually. And there's also a frog that is sometimes a full species, sometimes not a full species. So I just kind of get that as an insurance tick as well. So 4 species to see on an island, and the rest of the time will just be sunbathing and playing about in the sea and that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent. That's what Greece is for.
Oh, 100%. And then we're looking at trips for next year already.
Oh, nice. Good.
So I need to do Naxos because there's a lizard there I need, and then try and find the bloody blotch snake that I couldn't find on the Bulgaria trip. And that will pretty much finish the European list. So I can just keep battering the States now. So I need to come and herp with you in Florida to get the Cisterus. We need to do Utah. I need to go and see Eric in Pennsylvania to get the timbers. That'd be amazing. And we need to do Israel, obviously.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We got to do North Florida too. So like I want to do I want to do North Florida just east of the Panhandle on the Georgia border, where Apalachicola kind of comes down and touches into Florida, because that's the only spot in Florida that you can find every species of Florida venomous.
Oh, okay, that sounds cool.
There is canebrake and copperhead, eastern diamondback.
Canebrake's not a thing.
I was waiting for you to say it. It is a thing. But I've never seen a canebrake in the wild, and I've never seen, or a timber, excuse me, and I've never seen a copperhead alive. I've only seen a DOR one in South Carolina. So those 2 are definitely on my list. And I know the boys up in the Connexus working group, Jeremy and Tyler and them, they want to go herping. So we got to link up with them. And I think that would be
great.
Cool.
Yeah. Sounds really cool.
The frogs up there are crazy. The king snakes up there are crazy. So that's something I definitely want to try and get in. Yeah,
no, that sounds an absolute peach of a trip. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Utah in May. So good stuff. So how is your collection doing at the moment?
It's going good. I added a couple things recently. I got another pair of KwaZulu-Natal captive brethren calls. So they are
Because you didn't have enough wrinkles already.
I know.
Well,
I'm trying to diversify the gene pool,
Right. Okay.
So I got a pair of them, and they're yearlings, and they're absolutely stunning because they've never been in dirt. You know what I mean? So they're textbook. And it's so crazy, man, because I love getting new animals that are wild caught, but I also love getting new animals that have been in captivity because I love to see their interactions with humans. Because an animal that's been in the wild is always going to be defensive to humans, but an animal that's been in captivity, it could be tolerant, could be accustomed to being cleaned, being fed, whatever. And it's funny because the male is very nonchalant. He doesn't stand up, he doesn't hood, which is great. I love it, nice and calm. And I just threw a live rat pink in there, and he just said thank you and took it and ate it. Meanwhile, the girl is extremely elusive, very shy, hides in her hide all day long. And I did the same thing with her. I threw her a live rat pink, and she kind of comes out of the hole of the hide, looks at me, looks at the food, bites it, lets go, sucks back into her hide. The rat obviously passes away. Then she sneaks out slowly, grabs it, and just slowly drags it into her hide cave, and then eats it in the dark, in the privacy of the darkness. And I was thinking, like, here you have two animals that very well may be from the same litter, but they just act so different, and there's so much different personality. So I got them, which I thought was good, and I've waited to get some kind of Atractaspis species. And a friend of mine imported some stuff from West Africa, and he got a handful of them. So I can only afford to really buy one right now. So I believe, through my meager attempt at trying to identify which species, I'm pretty sure that I have Atractaspis dahomiensis, which is a West African species, and it is deep in shed. I got it, and then like 2 days later, it went deep into shed. So I haven't really photographed it too much because I kind of want to see what it's going to look like after it sheds. But that is just so exciting to me because I've worked with 2 or 3 species in the past, and they were relatively easy, but I didn't have the curiosity or the enthusiasm about the genus that I have now. And I really feel like they're a very interesting species, and it's almost because we don't know as much as we want to or as much as we need to. And the more digging I do into the natural history, the more I find that there really isn't much, and I have the edition Chimera book on Atractaspis, and there's this one section, like trying to identify different species visually is very, very difficult with just the naked eye. And there's actually one part where it says, if trying to identify certain species via physical characteristics, please see this paper from such and such circa 2011. So I'm like, okay, fine. I find the paper. The paper is more than the published hardback book. So I'm going to wind up downloading it eventually, but I just thought that was interesting that even the published hardback white cover scientific book on the genus still admits that it is incredibly difficult to visually identify certain subspecies and species because they are so similar. But I have some really interesting enclosure ideas in terms of being able to. So right now he's just set up in a basic Sterilite gasket tub. I've got about 2 inches of substrate with a very wide water bowl, some pieces of cork flat, and then a ton of oak leaves. I just threw in a bunch of natural oak leaves to give it that whole fossorial feel. And
oh, sorry, that's my dog.
Puppy woke up from the nap.
Puppy's just woken up.
So I think, and from what I've seen now, as I'm trying to leave him alone, or her, I have no idea what the gender is at this point, but it seems to be settling in quite nicely. There was no defensive behavior at all. There was no arcing of the neck. There was no pinwheeling. There was no side swiping or strikes. I have not tailed the animal because it's very small and I just simply don't trust it. But when I was pulling it up with a hook to put it into its new enclosure, I gently took my hand and just kind of touched the bottom of its tail, like as if you were going to tail it. Just to make sure that spine on the tail was still there and intact and it wasn't damaged at all. So the tail spine is perfect. And just observing it, there's no damages to any of the scales. It's honestly, it's a perfect specimen. I'm really happy with it. I'm just hoping that it winds up eating what I plan to feed it. So
And that was my next question. What do you plan to feed it?
well, so I've had really, really good luck in the past with Bibroni and just giving them pinky mice alive.
Okay.
And from what I gather is they get really fat really quick, and you really should space out the diet because they take all that mammal protein and they just pack it in because they don't know when the next one they're going to find is, because the odds of a stiletto finding a mouse nest is slim to none in the jungle or in fossorial forest, stepland areas, grassland areas, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to try that. I'll probably do what I did with the baby telescopus, and if maybe wrap it in like a lizard skin burrito, because that's actually worked really well for me. And just kind of go from there. If I gotta catch lizards, I mean, I'll catch lizards. I'll try and find something. I got some local kids who can get me some ground skinks if need be, and fingers crossed. But most of I'll be honest, I can't think of, like when I worked at Strictly and such, I can't think of a time having any kind of Actrotaspis and it not eating a pinky. I feel like pinky is like the magic food for them, but I could be wrong. Who knows? We're gonna find out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out. I've seen them in the wild, obviously. Caught them in the wild, and they are weird looking things.
Yeah, you saw Ngati's, right?
Yeah, they
Ngati's is like the dream one. That's awesome.
Yeah. And when you say sideswiping, it is crazy to watch them doing it. It's when you see the single fang come out either side and they're trying to stick you with it. It's really weird. Surprisingly strong snakes for their size. Proportionately, really really strong snakes.
And yours were in the Negev.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Just the problem is when you're road cruising through that sort of area, there are really really big millipedes.
Mm-hmm.
That look similar to the Actrotaspis. So you're constantly stopping the car and jumping out thinking that you found one, and it's a huge millipede that looks almost
nice.
So but
that's cool, man. And those Ngati's, man, those are long glanded, and it's crazy. I'm just looking at bite reports from them, and just the yield is incredible because the gland is almost the full first third, if not almost half the snake.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I'm not something that I would keep myself because it's like when I used to keep sand boas. You're keeping a tray of dirt. You're not going to see it very much unless you bother it.
And that's my goal is if I can get the one I have eating appropriately and pooping appropriately and being good, I have some really cool cage ideas to allow the snake to feel comfortable, but at the same time, I can look at it and watch it whenever I want.
Oh, so cool.
And so I'll send you pictures of some of the drawings I have. I'm gonna have to get with my buddy who does a bunch of acrylic stuff and try and do some gluing together and make some fossorial habitat.
Oh wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Now, talking of feeding stuff, pygmy rattlesnake babies.
Yes. How are you?
Oh mate,
how are you?
It's really weird. So I had 5 drop from a quite large striped barbari, and then I had 2 from a tiny little female normal phase barbari, which for me, I said to you before, I wouldn't thought she was big enough to produce, but she produced 2 babies. The 2 babies are double the size of the 5 striped babies.
Wow.
The 2 normal barbari fed straight away on frozen thawed pinks, the whole pinks.
Wow. Excellent.
Literally smashing them. You leave a frozen thawed pink in overnight, it's gone in the morning. The striped ones are an absolute nightmare. I have tried pinks, didn't want to go anywhere near them. I've tried live hatchling morning geckos, still in there 2 days later, not interested. I've tried live house geckos, but hatchling house geckos, because when I built my snake building, I released 20 house geckos in there deliberately, and they just hoover up the spilt crickets and that sort of thing, and they live in there quite happily. They breed like it's going out of fashion, so there's always juvenile, tiny little house geckos running around in there. Now there's morning geckos running around in there, Mediterranean geckos, Turkish geckos, and golden geckos running around in there because
Nice.
because I'm clumsy and stuff gets out. So yeah, it is Gecko Fest in there, and it's nice to see, and there's plenty of food for them to eat. So I've got a stock of small, tiny baby geckos. Absolutely not interested. I've tried wrapping pinks in shed gecko skin. So Underwoodisaurus don't tend to eat their skin.
Yeah.
So I use those. I wrap, not interested. So I don't know whether it's like other snakes that I've had, like European vipers particularly, where they need to overwinter first before they start feeding properly.
I wouldn't. It's not a Pyromilana. I wouldn't do it.
No. Okay.
At least not me personally. What I would try and do is, have you brained a blood pink yet?
Yeah, I've tried that. So what I've resorted to is I cut some small pinks up and I assist fed pink haunches, legs and haunches, for want of a better word.
Okay.
Which they took, but yeah, that's not ideal. I'd rather.
You didn't put it down them. You just opened their mouth, put it in, and walked away, and they managed to swallow it down from there.
I didn't walk away. I sat there with it on a glove.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, without moving. So of the 5, 3 of them would take it down eventually.
Okay.
2 of them, it had to be assisted down.
Okay. Have you tried taking the head off of a frozen thawed blood pink and then kind of squeezing it out, some of the juices on the neck side, and then bringing the neck side to it?
I haven't tried that. I can try that.
Try that one. And then have you flash boiled a blood pink?
I haven't, because I think my other half would go absolutely mental if
No, you don't do it like that. This is what you do. Is you take a teacup, right?
Yeah.
And you fill it halfway with water.
Yeah.
And you put it in the microwave for like at least 2 minutes on high.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you take out the teacup, coffee cup, and then you take your frozen thawed pink and just drop it in. And the frozen pinky will have a catalyst with the hot water, and it will instantly go and boil.
Okay.
And then you immediately take it out, shake it off, let it get cool, and then you can do your little braining if you want, and then try and feed it once it's warm to the touch.
Okay, I'll try that.
And now I've got a really hot prey item that is almost devoid of scent because you've cooked it all off real quick. That's a lot of guys do that with the Pyromilana. Is just they'll do it with hognose too.
Okay, I'll try that. Yeah, I'll try that next. Yeah,
and then if that doesn't work, then I take a frozen thawed blood pink and I'll roll it in tuna juice. You can try that too.
Okay, I'll try
and get the fishiness of like canned tuna or tuna in a pouch or whatever. Just roll it in some of that. That'll work too. I don't know. You just got to keep going.
Yeah, they are so small. I mean, ridiculously small. The actual in their little tubs, they have got the tops of milk cartons as water bowls.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And they comfortably curl up inside them.
Really?
They are ridiculously small.
Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, that's so tiny, man. It's so tiny.
By far the smallest snake I've had to deal with. The only other thing was the semiambulatus, the African telescopus.
Yeah.
Were smaller, I think. But
really?
Longer but thinner. Whereas these are just absolutely minute. I mean, a hatchling corn snake is probably 3 to 4 times as big as these.
Yeah, I believe it.
It's just crazy.
Oh, gnarly. I mean, come to think of it, when I got the Telescopus obtusus babies, they were like a cocktail straw. So, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Now, did you see my recent Instagram video of my brand new baby Chlorecus?
I did. I'm super jealous. It's one of my favorite species.
And I'll tell you, I started making that live video. I don't do live videos with Venomous often because there's so many things that can go wrong. God forbid something happens on a live video, then oof, that could get real bad real quick. But I figured this was a small enough baby in a very controlled environment. And I figured, you know what? If he eats, great. If he doesn't eat, oh, well, at least people could see how to get started with a baby like that. And literally, as I'm, and not to toot my own horn, but as I'm saying, he's probably not going to eat it. Wham! He grabs it, and like that I just felt so good about that, man.
Oh,
What
mate,
what a morale booster.
That's incredible. What a fabulous species.
Yeah.
Really, really underrated species, I think. I mean, everybody goes for the squams.
Yeah, and that's kind of, this was a gift from the buddy I bought the stiletto from. He's like, hey man, I really don't want to deal with that baby. You want that baby? I said, sure, I'll take it.
Mate.
And I'm glad he did, because it's super growing on me.
Yeah, I've got a pair, and I prefer them to the squams all day long. The colors are amazing. The females get quite big for Atheris. They
did you ever produce or no?
Not yet, no.
Okay, because I was gonna say there were bright neon yellow babies, not babies, bright neon yellow juveniles with that shipment. And it made me wonder, like, is that some kind of dimorphism, or is that just like neonate colors as they age, they turn more green?
I would say they age and turn green. I bred Ceratophora, and they were very yellow when they came out.
Okay.
Which the adults weren't. And the squams, they come out a myriad of different colors.
Right. Kaleidoscope.
Yeah. So, but I've never produced chlorechits. It's on my list of things to produce, but we shall see. But I love them. I think I've got mine in a really, really well planted. Probably for a venomous, it's my most planted viv.
Nice.
And they just sit up amongst the roots of the arboreal plants in there. They just look phenomenal. And great, really good feeders. Really good feeders.
I've learned that. So that's really good, man. Cool. This is very cool. I'm excited for the little baby. I'm hopefully it goes well. And I got him set up in a little makeshift quarantine deli cup with some fake plants and stuff. So take it one step at a time,
Yeah, I do. Is there anything else you're thinking of adding shortly?
No, I wasn't planning on adding any of that stuff. It was just, one was a gift and the other ones were strike when the iron's hot. I'm trying to not buy anything. I just upgraded my Fuscus into, I think they're 80 quart tubs. So I upgraded them, which they're loving it. They're growing like weeds. And I don't know, talking to you and talking to Eric in Arizona about how big they need to be to breed. I really feel like if I really pumped up the girl, she might be able to breed this autumn. But at the same time, I'm afraid, man. I'm afraid if she's too small, and I'm afraid I'm going to have complications. So I don't know. I guess I just gotta wait and see what happens.
Yeah, there's no rush to breed. I mean, mine are coming up for 5 years now.
Okay.
This year was the first year I put them together.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll send you pictures of my girl, and you tell me if she's,
But even at 5 years, I'd say mine are probably only 3.5, 4 feet long.
Okay.
They're not, but I keep mine slim. I don't overfeed, I don't.
Yeah. Same with me.
I don't power feed them or anything like that. So
yeah, I think the biggest meal they've ever had is a small rat.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, it's about the same. But yeah, I mean, like those in the Maclots, I had them as hatchlings. I got them both at the same time. So I've got a trio of Maclots, and I've got a trio of fog dam water pythons.
Nice.
So they've both, this year was the first year I put them all together just to see. But I don't, they're supposed to be. I think most people say they don't breed until they're about 7. So.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think they're quite slow to mature.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we shall see.
Nice. Good.
Yeah.
What about shows, brother?
Oh, mate. I've just booked a table at the Houghton show.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so that would be cool. That's in October. That's International Snake Day.
Nice.
That's the biggest snake show in Europe. It's just a phenomenal show. In terms of venomous, there will be every species of European viper for sale.
Wow.
There'll be there was last time, I think, every species of North American rattlesnake for sale.
Wow.
Including Bellade, Price Eye, Aquilus. All of those will be for sale there.
Awesome.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. I might go to the ham show this year. It's not been on for a while, but it's back on now, and that is the biggest reptile show in the world. So I might see how that goes.
Nice. And that's a September.
That is in September. It's a bit of a mission for me. It's about a 10-hour drive, and it's quite an expensive trip if you're not selling anything.
Yeah.
But it's a great experience.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? You're doing Daytona, aren't you?
Doing Daytona, and this year I've got me and Billy and Casey Cannon are sharing a table, and then Billy has another table that's next to us. So the three of us will have two tables, and then we got a really great spot this time. I've got Adeline Robinson on my left, and I got Manny and Tiki on my right, and like all those people are fantastic, beautiful, wonderful people. So it's gonna be a really exciting show. I don't think I'm gonna bring any actual animals to sell. I mean, I have a couple geckos that I might consider, but I think I'm honestly just gonna bring some t-shirts and just hang out and try not to spend too much money. So the only things that I really have on my radar is stuff that is rather pricey, and I don't think I should. I think I should be patient and save my shekels and go from there. So
I've got a list, and it's all inspired by stuff that we saw while we was away. To be perfectly honest,
good.
Yeah, I'm after king snakes, and I'm after some rattlesnakes. So we'll see.
I swear, if you buy a tree lizard, I'm flying over there to hit you.
No, I wouldn't mind a tree lizard, to be honest. I think they're quite cool, but I've never seen them for sale.
Probably for a reason.
But yeah. No, Cloud Riot is top of my list. Then Sidewinders and some. I really get into king snakes, but locality, not morphs, obviously.
Yeah.
So I want some of the mountain kings as well. I've got some, but I'd like some different. I'd like Ruthveni and some stuff like that. So we should see.
Nice.
See what's available.
Are you gonna take the pill and do the Leonis route?
I have a lot of friends that have got those, so I can get them quite easily.
Okay. Yeah, I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of like it's like M&Ms. You just can't have one Leonis. You have to have
you have to have the whole.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. No, my list is more. I want decent examples of Pueblan, Sinaloan, that sort of thing.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
You do like Zanata?
Oh, my friends just bought a trio of Zanata. They're extremely expensive over here.
Really?
Yeah. I think he paid about $850 for the trio.
Oh, okay. That's. I was expecting $850 each.
Oh no! I think that's for king snakes. I think that's quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I've got Knobloch Eye, Pyramilana. So I'd like some Infralabris, any mountain king.
Yeah.
I'm after. Yeah. So
yeah, that was kind of when I was trying to find my pair of pyros.
Yeah.
I wanted the Utah coloration.
Yeah.
But I wanted it to be pyro. That way I didn't have to pay any kind of exuberant price tag.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I've put some feelers out to see if I can get some clouds that are from the Huachuca area, which technically can't ever happen because they're protected. But it's Europe, and you can get anything. So.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything when we were out there, but like I know I've seen that locality. I've seen Huachuca Mountains, like 100%.
Yeah. I mean, it's normally is it the Organ Mountains you normally find for sale quite a lot in Europe. It's normally out of Arizona ones that you find for sale, but I think
well, and I also think that there's also like I know for a fact that there has been certain individuals who had permits to do X, Y, and Z. They used the animals for whatever the research was. They kept the animals afterward. They moved to Texas, had babies, sold those babies to a friend in Michigan, and then all of a sudden now you have locality specific animals.
Yeah.
So like it's not impossible. It's
not impossible. It's just to be fair, everything is possible.
But the ones you're looking at probably weren't that route.
No.
So to say the least.
Yeah, but that's the plan going forward. God, my dog is panting away. Poor little fella.
He says, "Pet me, Dad. Pet me."
It's too hot. It's too hot here. Yes.
Well, sir, is there anything else you want to touch base on?
No, mate. I think it's great to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to catch up. We've got some other guests in the pipeline coming up.
We do. Have you talked to Peter yet?
I have talked to Peter. Peter has just bred king cobras.
Oh, nice.
So
did he have a nest mound or no?
He did, I believe. Yeah.
Incredible.
They're just hashing out at the minute, so that's very, very cool.
Excellent. Do you know what locality or country?
I don't. He will obviously. He's all over that. So yeah, he will. He said, he will when he gets a minute. He's super busy, but he will come on and talk about breeding his king cobras and his fantastic collection.
Yeah, and to be honest, I will make sure that obviously if I'm at work, that's different. But if I'm out of work, I don't care what time of day. Like I'll make arrangements.
Yeah,
it's no big deal.
That'd be cool. So yeah, that'd be great to have him on. We need some arachnid people on.
Oh, we got them. They're ready. We just got to schedule it out. So
yeah, we'll sort that out. That'd be grand.
Arthropoda for days.
Hell yeah. Not that I know anything about them, but I feel that we are very snake heavy. We need some healer people on.
I've got them lined up. I've got heated people, I've got beaded people, and I've got southern beaded people.
Check you out. You're all over this.
Well, I got to bring something to the table.
Ideal, mate. Ideal. That's grand.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, man. Well, where you want to give your sign off tags and such? It's weird with no guest, isn't it?
It is. It really is. So, thanks for everybody that's supporting me on Instagram at the moment. Please continue to do that. If I can get to 1,000 followers, I will be super excited. So tell your friends and follow me at Nipper Reed on Instagram. You will find loads and loads of rattlesnake pictures going on there at the moment as I'm downloading them. But yeah, I've had some lovely feedback on Instagram about the show, so I really appreciate that. It's very kind of people to reach out and say kind things. So yeah, that's good. That's me.
Excellent. It sounds like you're wrangling a razorback.
I have an American Bulldog cross staff that is super hot and determined to get on my lap, which is not the most convenient thing at the moment.
Nice. Well, as for me, you can find me at knobtails.ig on Instagram. You can also go on YouTube and check out Venomous etiquette videos. I actually took a 6-minute highlight reel from our Arizona trip, put some music onto it, and that is on Venomous etiquette videos on YouTube. So feel free to check that out if you want to see more of our Arizona action. And then you can find us on the Herpetoculture Network. Every Monday night, Snakes and Stogies is our live Snakes and Cigars chat. Feel free to check that out. And also give a shout out to the MPR, Morelia Python Radio Network, and the fine folks over there. I think that's about it for this trip. What do you got, Nip Nip?
I'm good. No, that's it, mate. That's me done.
All right. Well, thank you again to everybody for watching, listening, partaking, all the above. And we love you. Bye.
See you later. Bye.